We're standing in the reserve line, which is the trench which is the furthest from the Germans' frontline trench. Allied trenches generally had 3 lines. The reserve line, 200 yards further toward the Germans, is what's called the support line, which we will see, and then you come to the front line firing trench. Now, the reserve line was not generally intended to be fought from. The aim was that only if you needed to, you would rush into it in an emergency to stop a breakthrough. Now, these trenches are fairly eroded. They would have been originally about 7 feet deep, 7 feet wide at the top, and 3 feet wide at the bottom. The sides would have been revetted, which means that they would have had sandbags or other materials attached to the sides so they wouldn't cave in. And on the bottom, there would have been what were called duck boards, which is a wooden walkway to keep your feet out of the mud. Now, trenches are much like a railway. They work a whole lot better with one-way traffic. Junctions are very important, and if you take a wrong turn, it's very hard to get turned around. So most of these trench systems were designated for one-way traffic only, because you couldn't have troops hitting each other and then not just becoming hopelessly disorganized. Now, what I'm actually standing in is called a diamond or an island traverse. You can see the reserve line has a zigzag pattern to it. That's to prevent people from getting into the trench and shooting all the way down it. It also protects against the fragmentation from artillery fire. But every so often along the reserve line, they dug one of these island traverses, which is just a big diamond shape. Now, the aim was, if things are going badly, troops would rush into this part of the line, and there are firing steps facing all 4 directions. Now, a firing step is so that you can shoot out of the trench. If it's 7 feet deep, obviously it's higher than your head. So there would be a step built into the side, about 1.5 feet high. I would be able to step up and then aim my rifle over the edge of the trench. And then when I step back down, I'm protected from being seen and also from being shot at. So this feature would be manned by about 40 men in an emergency. And if there was no ongoing crisis, those men were the guys who were tasked to carry everything that was needed in the trench system forward. So all of the food, all of the ammunition was carried by hand through these trench systems at night to replenish the guys who were manning the support and the front lines. And you can also imagine carrying casualties out of this system on a stretcher is a lot of work. Now, going back toward our rear area would have been a communication trench about 3.5 kilometers long. And so when you're carrying stuff, you have a round trip in this context of about 8 kilometers in which you have to work your way through this dark, muddy trench for most of the year and find your way back to the supply depots or find your way forward to the frontline troops.